in Canada because...
A boot! Not a boot.
Sorry. Hey, welcome back to Trail Trash ADV. It's Jeff again in the garage. Just on the Goldwing Project. I don't know what part number this is, but here it is. Alright. And what are we working on today? These rusty, whatever you want to call them. Rusty pieces of crap. Take you out of here for a second. So I kind of already got one done. So we got the headers back on, and if you remember, this is the side with the starter. Our little JB weld fix seems to be holding okay, so everything seems to be fine in there. I've had it. I've run it up to temp and back down a couple of times since. The headers just have some high temp black paint on them now, but they're going to get wrapped back to here, and then I'm just doing a quick and dirty job on the mufflers because I don't know if I'm going to keep them. So I cut it, and there happened to be a baffle right there, so where I decided to cut the length. So I just welded up the baffle, and it doesn't look the prettiest, but we're just going to do it for now because I don't think I'm going to keep these mufflers. So at some point I'll go up there and dig out the Triumph mufflers for you guys, which I may end up using. Just depends on whether I can get them to connect to the headers and angle the brackets the way I want to. So, but we'll see how these sound too. But yeah, I'm not crazy about the look even after I cut them. And there's a lot of corrosion on them, so we're gonna whatever. Here are the bars. These are my old Bonnie bars. I don't know if I showed you guys putting these when I put these on. The Superbike bars I've had on here were black, and I just couldn't seem to make them fit the way I wanted to, and they didn't feel good. I've 3D printed some of these risers to go here, and to get this a little closer, and it still didn't feel quite right. It was the angle, but that's the problem with these bars too, is I'm not crazy about the angle. Colin was by today, and I was telling him about this. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So the bars are probably going to change. But like I said, in the video that's going to be releasing, well, this isn't in the future, so the video that should be releasing this week, I don't know if I'm going to keep these perches, both of these. The seat, that's been redesigned. I poked through, actually, there's some harder pink foam in here. It won't matter. This will be, when the seat cover's on there, you won't be able to see any of that anyway. That should just smooth right out. But I slimmed it down the back a little bit more. I might even go back and slim it down a little bit more through here and here, just to kind of get this little tight. That's about as far as I can get down there because we're going to be hitting this pink foam here. But who knows? I may shave a little bit more of that too. This is the beginnings of a 3D printed rear mount for the light. Needs some adjustment there, so we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board for that. But that's basically what it should look like there at some point. So today we'll be just working on that other muffler, and if we get that muffler done, and we get a temporary covering on the seat, like I had before, we might even, if we get some nice weather, the bike should be really all legal to drive. Well, it needs to pass inspection. It'll need a front tire to pass inspection because I don't think that'll pass. But as far as signal lights and headlights and tail lights and brake lights, all that stuff, everything should be working well enough to take it out and do some more test drives with it, which is basically what this project is going to be about. And I know I've mentioned this, but the project's it's a work project. It's not a project where I'm going to take everything down, do all the powder coating and painting and all that stuff. It's never going to get powder coated. Well, I shouldn't say never, but it's not going to get powder coated in this version anyway. But the bike is not going to be disassembled and then reassembled each part. Things will be taken apart. They'll be addressed. First, I want to get everything mechanically sound on the bike. I want to get things, where they're working, and that way I can pick away at it and say we'll chop it into little chunks. We'll do carb rebuild kits. Bang. Put them back in the bike. Then we'll do a brake rebuild kit, put it back in the bike, change the handlebars, work on the plastics in the bodywork, the gauges. But I don't want the bike to be totally torn down to the frame and parts scattered everywhere. I've got too much going on in the garage right now. I've got too many projects on the go that need to be cleaned up and finished off. The KE project, the other XT project. So I don't want to get it. I'm limited space in here, so I just don't have the room to break this bike down and keep it in parts and boxes for months. So it's going to be a living project. We're going to do little pieces at a time. And when spring hits, I want to ride this. I want to be riding it around. So even if it's not finished or completed, I'll keep it in some sort of rideable state. So enough of the rambling. So I had to beat something back into shape with that round shape. There was somebody clamped on the other muffler so bad it actually pinched it pinched right here. So this was out of round. So all that corrosion needs to be cleaned off. We need to chop this muffler about the same place we chopped the other muffler. And the other thing I did was, because this crossover pipe was so corroded, I just capped it off and welded it off. I looked on the forums, I did some research. I think I mentioned it in the last video I was going to. And some people said that it helps equalize pressures in the exhaust. Other people said they capped it off, they didn't care. There's some aftermarket systems that don't have the crossover. There are a lot of guys use the headers and put on Harley pipes, Harley takeoff pipes, because they're cheap and easily. You can find a lot of them on eBay, like the Sportster. They're kind of like, almost like a cone. And they don't have crossover pipes. So it doesn't seem to be a big issue. The bike seems to run fine. If for some reason it does, I don't think these are going to stay anyway. So maybe we'll design a crossover pipe if it becomes a big issue. But I'm going to cap them off for now and see what's going to go on. Now what I meant to do before I put that pipe back on was to put it up next to this one to find out where I need to measure it. Because last time I was just lucky that I cut it right where that baffle plate was. I might not get lucky again here. So I'm going to try to put it up to there and measure that off, and so I can cut it and keep that baffle in it. So here's the, see, I just missed the inside of the baffle. And there's some other baffling in there. I don't know. It'd be a big work to cut that up or punch that out or whatever. Yeah. More scrap metal for the scrap metal pile. So I don't know how much I'm going to film with just me cutting and, you know, with a cutoff disc and welding. Maybe I'll go ahead and do this one up, and then I'll bring you back and show you, you know, what I had to do. And in the future, if you guys want to see the welding and cutting, you know, just put it in the comments, and I'll show more of the actual structure. But it's not a tutorial on how to cut and weld, because I'm not an expert at any of that stuff. And actually, there are videos on the channel where you've seen me weld with my little 110 flux core welder. At some point, I may go to gas. I think we've talked about that in some of the videos that may have been published. And I'm rambling, so I'm going to shut you off for a minute. That, or I'm going to put you in time-lapse mode, and I'll bring you back when we've got this done. All right, as you can see, we measured right because we didn't hit the baffle. So again, this isn't ideal. Typically what I probably should have done on the other one, and if I'd known that baffle was there, I would have left another 5 millimeters, maybe an inch or something like that, so that when I welded this up inside, that it was buried and you couldn't actually see it, you know, because the chrome overhang. But because I did the other one and I messed that one up, and again, I didn't know, because I didn't know where the internal baffle was. I could cut on the other side of it, but then I think the pipe is too short. So because of where I cut the other one, I had to do it this way. Otherwise, I would have sunk that in a little bit so that you couldn't really see the end pipe. But it is what it is. Oh well. Okay. So I'm just gonna put a bead around there and a bead around there. The green tape, when you want to make a nice even cut, then if you put the tape, then the wider the better. When you put the tape around, you can get a nice clean line all the way around. So as long as you don't have to do your measurements or level or anything like that, as long as your tape isn't got any wrinkles and you've got it on there straight and it meets up on the other side when you wrap it around, and again, you have no wrinkles, then you can be pretty much sure that it's reasonably straight. And that'll keep you straight. And like I said, the wider the tape, the better, which is one of the reasons I keep this wide masking tape around. So that's about it. I'm gonna weld that up. We're gonna cut this off, plug a weld over that. We'll clean up this bracket a little bit. I'll clean up that rust a little bit, and then this is going back on for now. I said down the road it might change, and maybe I won't get any decent weather, and I won't get a chance to use this at all, and it'll all be moot. And before I even run this bike on the road, this exhaust may never see the road again. Who knows? I'm just doing this in case we get some nice days and I want to go test ride it for something, and you never know, I might put a front tire on it or something like that. The tires do have to come off so I can clean up the rims, and that's all they're going to get is just a cleaning. They're not going to get, I probably won't end up painting them anytime soon. That's all depends on how the look of the bike comes out. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and weld that up, and I'm not going to film that. I don't want any sparks or anything over on my camera, so it's the only camera I got. So I will do all that, and I'll bring you back. I just want to bring you guys back for a second. There's the end cap. It's not very well. So the problem is that the wall thickness of this is a lot thicker than the baffle. So I'm having a hard time finding heating range where and a wire speed that's doing a good job fusing, cutting through some of the corrosion that I can't get to, and not blowing through that baffle because it's a lot thinner than the wall material. But the crossover pipe was cracked 3/4 of the way around. So I just hammered it off real quick, and that's the big freaking hole it left. Like, holy jumpins. And that's all thin stuff. So, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get that done. That's thin wall stuff, and that's hard to do with a flux core because you gotta go tap. And if you see any sheet metal videos, welding videos on YouTube, they just go zip, and they just do a series of basically tack welds. But you can't do that with flux core as well because the flux, and so it leaves slag on top of the weld. So you've got to, and you can't if you weld to that. So if you can go tap, and then you got to go clean it all off. Then you go tap again because you can't, if you hit a spot weld you did before and the slag is still on it, then that'll be in your weld, and it'll sputter and puff, and it doesn't look good either. Like, you can get a good weld, you can get a strong, like, functional weld, but I'm trying to plug holes here. I don't want gas exhaust to get through, and I don't want a bunch of porosity or, slag in the weld. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that. So I'll bring you back and show you what I do when I'm done. Welcome back to Trail Trash with Jeff in the garage. Just a quick update. We had a beautiful day today, 14th of November, 2021. And I believe it got up to 14 degrees or something like that, which is unheard of up here. Not unheard of, but it's not that common this time of year. So this is the bike as it sits now, the Goldwing Project. What I was able to do, and I'm sorry, a lot of it was off camera, but I just was trying to get it finished. Foot pegs are done. I'm missing the springs in them, so that'll something I'll have to do. But I chopped that off where it was welded to the frame, and I made a new one, which uses this little locating peg to place it where it needs to be. I just made it out of an old pry bar, good solid steel. I got the sit and fly back on. There's just a garbage bag underneath it, covering the foam. So I'm not sure where that's all going to head. I'm kind of working on the 3D print for this. We chopped the exhaust, and I just really quickly welded that up. Not happy with the welds. I'm not happy with how that turned out at all. But again, I just was trying to get it going. I probably should have just left it, but I was curious when I chopped it. But I wanted to slap it back together so I could get some riding in this fall. Because before I do anything, and like I said at the beginning of this intro, or the intro of this project, it's going to be a budget project. Like, it's not, and it'll be a living project. It'll be something I'll pick away at. I want to ride next summer. I want to ride it next summer, and so I'll be doing little things. I'll be taking stuff off the bike, doing it, and put it back. However, at some point, it may have a full tear down. The frame needs to be painted. It's got a lot of rust. I'm touching it up with some Tremclad, which is a Canadian company that Rust-Oleum bought. Somebody asked me about that. It's here, I'll show you real quick. Yeah. So I think it used to be an independent company, but Rust-Oleum bought them out, so now they market it. It's the easiest, cheapest thing we can get a hold of up here. So I've just sort of been playing with this a little bit because we're going to be doing a dash relocation. I put on some cheap old mirrors there just to get around today. Oop, that went flying. I shaved the back of the seat a little more, back to the seat here. It's hard to tell with the big fat sit and fly on it, but it is sculpted a little bit more. I'm starting to get the shape that I kind of want. Exhaust. We got some header wrap coming to wrap those headers. And again, these exhaust pipes, something's going to happen to them. I capped off the crossover. Yeah, so that's kind of as it sits. So I'm not really doing anything tonight. I'm just kind of messing around with some ideas, kind of looking at the bike, deciding how I'm going to relocate the dash, exactly how much work it's going to be. I forgot about this little 7-volt regulator in here, and I can't remember what that's for. It has something to do with the dash lights, I think, if I remember correctly, on my old 1980. So we'll have to double check on that. Oops, sorry, I don't want to. Probably going to, again, I'm looking at what I can do about these perches. I really don't like the angle of this, how that hangs down, and because that's designed to go on one of the kind of the AP hanger handlebars that came on the Goldwing originally. Those are never going back on. I don't know if these bars are going to stay either, but that's probably never going to sit right on whatever bars I put on it. So I've got to change. I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be doing some windows chopping. Christmas is coming, so probably won't be too many purchases up until then, but after Christmas we'll start accumulating some parts. Some of the dash may be relocated into here. I've got some idiot lights coming to replace these. But the 2 gauges I'm probably going to want to keep. I want to keep my fuel gauge and the temp gauge, but I don't want them up there. They're either going to get moved down by the ignition or they'll get moved into here. The tins may come off. I haven't decided yet whether we're going to fiberglass the brake here. So that's all broken here. So I don't know whether we'll fiberglass this crack or not, because there is some things that rub down here. So that's why they want to put it in there to begin with, is so that this would flex down over, but that is fiberglass, I believe. I don't think that's metal. I think the last one was fiberglass on the 1980. There may be some changes over the model years, but we'll double check. That's metal. The doors are metal. The glove box cover. The wheels need to come off. I've already changed the oil in this once. It's going to probably get done again in the spring. There's a seal on what they call it the pumpkin. The seal needs to be checked in there. The rear end grease needs to be changed. Obviously the coolant needs to be changed. So that's the other big thing today, was to get the bike up to temperature and make sure it was running good. I wanted to see the fan kicked on, so the thermostat was running. I idled through one of the small towns, and it did get up there a little bit. And I think I do remember that that's common for these Goldwings to get a little warm. So I 3D printed some new ones of these. I fixed the 3D printer; it was not extruding properly, so they're just a little prettier, I guess. I won't have to do much post processing to those. What else is there? The naked versions, the fan or the horns go here, but they're a chrome cover fan. They look better than this. I don't like chrome anyway, but these fans definitely got to get relocated on the side. At least one of them will get relocated over. I mean, maybe I'll go to a single fan. A single horn, because I may relocate the ignition down there on one side. I don't know. But back to cooling. So to make sure the cooling system is working at its best, I know the thermostat is opening up and the fan is coming on, but we're going to have to change the fluid. But I'm waiting to change the fluid when we do the timing belts, because I want to remove the radiator, and that's where we'll clean it all up and we'll paint it. This chrome guard is not in great shape, so I think I like the guard itself, but we may have to try to scuff up that chrome as best we can, and that's probably going to go black. I started at the tail end of the ride. The bike was running a little rough, So I think probably some junk from the tank has gotten into the fuel system again, or into the carbs. So the carbs will probably have to come out and again, and I'll have to check, make sure the pilot jets or the main jets are all nice and clean. The emulsion tubes in those jets are good. That's going to have to happen anyway because I got a new fuel filter that has to go in there. And I think I can get at it without the carbs, but it'll be much easier to change if the carbs are out. Plus, that's one part I think I will order a little sooner than later, is the Accelerator pump rebuild kit. On carb 3, there's an Accelerator pump, which shoots a little extra gas in when you give it the crack. And that was not in good shape. So I think most everything else in the carb, the full bowl gaskets were good, the floats are good. I like reusing original jets anyway. I find some of the carb rebuild kits, even the K&L ones, which is probably one of the more reputable brands, don't have, sometimes the jets aren't 100% accurate. So I like to use the OEM jets that came in there. Just give them a good cleaning. So ultrasonic cleaner might be in the future. That could be something that we look at. So I do have to get a good look in that tank and change that fuel filter, make sure nothing's getting through the fuel pump and into the carbs again. Yeah, so just little things, I guess. So some things are going to start coming off the bike. I think this ride that I got today was probably the last hurrah for this. The DRZ, I've got the DRZ to kind of zip around in the colder months. I think I'm going to try to keep that going. I've got the heated grips installed on that now, and they seem to be working okay. I'll have a follow-up, an installation video and a follow-up for that at some point in the winter, some winter content. The gauges, back to the gauges, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I think I'm going to keep the factory gauges, the round ones. I just need to angle them, relocate them, get rid of this center console, remove that somewhere else, the idiot lights and whatnot, rearrange that so that the clocks can go a little closer together, and lay a little flatter or lay down a little bit, something, I don't know. It all depends on what we end up doing for a headlight bucket. Yeah, so I guess that's it for today. Just kind of giving a quick update on where we are with the Goldwing Project, and just to kind of announce that things are going to start coming back off of it because up until now, you guys have just seen me getting it mechanically sound enough to go ride. Front tire's pretty sketch, by the way, but and some of you might have been going, oh, well, he's not really going to do a project because he just cut some things up and stripped some things down or whatever. But it is going to get spruced up, I should say. It's going to get paint. It's going to get some polish. It's going to get some of these things right. It's just, to reiterate, it's just not going to get a complete down to the frame tear down at this point, and then build back up, because I wanted to make sure the bike was mechanically sound, the engine was running before I spent any money on it, and 2, I still want to ride this bike as the project goes. So it's just not going to be torn down and sit for a year or 2 years while I powder coat and clean and all this other stuff, right? And plus, it's just, I'm not spending that kind of money on it. So maybe sometime in the future, like at some point, if I keep this bike for a couple of years and I'm really happy with it, then maybe we'll go ahead and it'll be a version 2, and it'll just get stripped down, and the frame will get painted or powder coated, and the engine will get really cleaned up and all that sort of stuff. So that might happen in the future, but it's just not going to happen this initial project. So, all right, well, that's probably it for now. And this will probably be part of a bunch of little updates. And that's more of a reminder for me than for you, because some of this will be edited. So I'll put this together with some other footage so that it doesn't look like a bunch of choppy small videos. And we'll try to keep the videos updated and regular, at least until the winter months hit and the work slows down. Okay, so until next time, it's Jeff for Trail Trash ADV. Hey, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next vid. You know we're in Canada because...
A boot! Not a boot. Sorry.